Welcome to One Tired Teacher, episode 38, Why Classroom Decor Matters for Back to School. So it's back to school time. It's crazy. We're almost there. And for some of you, you've already started. So we're going to talk about all things back to school for the next several weeks and really get into the spirit. And today we're talking about decorating our classrooms. So I hope you stick around.
Welcome to One Tired Teacher. And even though she may need a nap, this teacher is ready to wake up and speak her truth about the trials and treasures of teaching. Here she is, wide awake. Wait, she's not asleep right now, is she? She is awake, right? Okay. From Trina Debery Teaching and Learning, your host, Trina Debery.
Hey, so we are talking about decorating our classroom today, and this can be like sometimes some people's very favorite subject. Like myself, I love decorating. I love getting ready and prepared, and I just like decorating in general. Like I spent the last year shiplapping my house and building a barn door, and actually 2 barn doors and a desk, all kinds of other things. Like I completely love decorating. And when it came to my classroom, I had a blast every single year. Now, I'm not going to lie. There were moments where it was daunting. I had a huge wall outside of my classroom that I felt very compelled to make a grand statement. So, and often even I had a little bit of competition going on with my across the hall, very, very dear friend who ended up being my teacher partner. And I would do something, she would do something, I would do something, she would do something, she would do something, I would do something. It was we went back and forth for a little while. We had a lot of fun though. Like it wasn't one of those competitions where we were secretively wishing ill will towards the other. We actually were having fun competing. It stressed everybody else out. So I am not recommending that strategy. In fact, I think collaboration is always the way to go rather than competition, because I think the synergy can be amazing. So let's talk about why back to school decor really matters, or even decorating your room and getting it prepared and ready for our kids. Because I know that getting back to school it feels like overwhelming sometimes. You have the back to school decor to deal with, you have decorations to figure out, open house, beginning of the year essentials, back to school printables, what you're going to do for the first week, how you're going to start with reading workshop, writing workshop, math workshop, all the things that you have to do as far as the content goes, which half the time you don't even have time for that part yet because you're so overwhelmed with getting your classroom ready. And the list goes on and on and on. And that can be really a lot to deal with, especially when you're first getting back in your classroom. And I have really noticed that some people, I'm in, lots of different groups with teachers, and I've noticed that some people can't even get into their classroom, which I think, when you have a group of people that want to work for free, why are you not letting them? Half the time we pay for childcare when we are parents. We pay for childcare just so we can get into our classrooms early and work for free. It really is insanity to me. I never had this experience. That's not true. At my very last position, I couldn't just go to the school whenever I wanted, which was such a weird thing for me, because with my principal that I had for 19 years, he let us in whenever we wanted. School would be open on Saturdays. When people asked, he made a way for the school to be open. He was all about accommodating teachers in that way, and I think it was really appreciated. I don't even know if we realized how important it was and what a gift that was. And I think he thought of it as, well, if they want to work for free and they're willing to put this much time and energy into something, who am I to deny them? Which is very smart administration, in my opinion. So that's a whole nother story. But I've been helping my same partner, my friend I've talked about, Melanie. I'm just going to say her name. I've been helping Melanie, and actually another friend of mine as well. And I've been helping them get their rooms ready and get their rooms situated for the new year. They both have gone to a new school, and it's actually right outside my window. I can see it. I watched it being built for over a year, and now they are actually there and they're ready to go. And it's so exciting to be part of a new school. I helped open a new school when it was like almost 15 years ago, because I was pregnant, and my son is going to be 15 on Friday. So it was 15 years ago. It's unbelievable to think that it's been that long. But I opened a new school, and I remember how it's exciting because everything is brand new and it looks so pretty, and all of your stuff from your old school looks so dingy inside your new clean classroom. And you're like, oh man, I got to get new everything. Like, I do remember feeling that. And I know that is going on for both of them. And for a lot of my teacher friends that are going to the school, which is going to be incredible. So I'm very excited for them. But it is overwhelming because you don't have things like staplers and tape, bulletin board paper. I mean, there's things that we take for granted sometimes when we're in the classroom that we don't even think about when we go to like new places like that don't have them. And we're like, I'm already digging into my pocket for resources or for things that I want in my classroom, even decorations in my classroom. And now I have to go buy a stapler. For some reason, the stapler thing really can push you over the edge. It's office supplies that you feel like you know. And I know this administrator is going to figure out how to get all that to them. It just takes a little bit of time. You often open schools in a decent socioeconomic area, and you don't have the funds that you do sometimes when the school is, it like has a struggling population. You don't have those state funds. Not that you could buy staplers and things like that with that anyway, because it's very, it's earmarked funds. But I feel like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know what they think sometimes. I don't know how they think we get these things. Well, how do we get them? Teachers end up buying their own stuff. I mean, I have a lot of friends that have bought bookcases because I don't know who's on the furniture committee, but oh my goodness. Triangle desks and giant, really wide bookcases that only fit like one, baskets in that you have to shove all the way back to the back, knowing kids are going to do that. I often wonder. Anyway, all right, so let's get to it. So let's talk about why it matters. Like, both of my friends, as I've helped them in their rooms, I've realized it's got to be a special place for kids. And when kids walk in the door, sometimes that is your first impression. So there are some reasons why back to school decor actually really matters, because it is very eye-opening. It's very like, it's engaging when they first come in. It's the first impressions. We're going to talk about some of those reasons. But I first want to share a story because, like I said, when I was in the classroom, we had a theme every single year, and I decorated out full on to the school-wide themes. And we were expected to have like at least some part of the theme represented. And I was like, every year when the theme would change, I would be so excited. I'd go out and I'd buy stuff for my room. Like, it was a Western theme, or it was a sports theme. We had a space theme. We had a like adventure, kind of like a jungle kind of theme, ocean. I mean, we had all these different themes, and I was like so gung-ho about it every year. And during that time, luckily for me, there was another income in my house, and I could afford to get stuff for my classroom. And it's really hard when you're doing this on a sole income, or even when your family is living on a strict budget. You can't just go buy all this stuff for your classroom. So I think we have to take that into account as well. And when we're able, if we can, make donations to classrooms, I think that is a really important thing to do. And I know that there's things like GoFundMe and there's certain things like that will allow you to ask, for funds and for help in your classroom. When I first went into the media center a couple years ago, I didn't have like paper and crayons and pencils and scissors and glue. I didn't have any of those things. And that was a Title I school. And I was expected to like have these things, or at least to produce these engaging lessons for students that came in. And I'm like, I don't want to just read a book and that's it. Like, I want them to do some thinking and some creating. And I want more for them. Like, and don't get me wrong, I love reading. I think reading is very essential, but I think that there's a response to reading. So I wanted to do all of that. And I had to do a GoFundMe just to get basic supplies. I'm totally getting off track. I keep getting off track with the decor because there's so much to think about when you think about going into your classroom in the very beginning of the year or over the summer. If you're, I don't want to say lucky, because you're also working for free, but there's the flip side. You get it done. At least it gets done. So anyway, so back to helping my friends. So I realized there's just so much that goes into setting up your classroom. And I also realized that even if you have a theme, like they have a theme this year, and they're starting off because they're the sharks. So they're starting off with this like type of ocean theme. And this is a new school, so they're trying to represent that. But it is hard because you're like, what am I going to do for next year? What am I going to invest in something that's going to be able to be used? I had a friend, one of my very best friends. She was extremely wise when it came to like using things creatively. Like one year when it was the ocean. So we started with the ocean, and then she had jelly, like a starfish for the stars on her space, the starfish that she had on her ocean theme then became the stars that she had in her space classroom, and then they became the stars that she used in her Western theme. So she hated themes, and she was determined to use resources that she'd paid for once. She was just determined to use them again and again, which I think is the smart way of doing it. And I, on the other hand, was like, oh, it's sports. It's time to get out all my Gator stuff, and I'm going to go buy more Gator stuff, and this classroom's going to be orange and blue like you've never seen, which was super fun for my Florida State parents and kids. But it was fun for me, and it's not fun for everybody. So let's talk about that. Like, if it's not fun for you, I know that if I were currently going into a classroom, and I am actually going back into the school system, and that will be really interesting because I've been out for a year and a half doing my business stuff full time, and I am finding myself in a position where I need a little bit more stability. And having this teacher contact, like, I miss that part. And the kids, like, I miss that part too. But like, it's going to be really interesting. If I were to do that, then I probably would go with like more of a farmhouse type of feel, because that's what I'm really into right now, especially with like the shiplapping. I think that I would probably make some things a little more neutral so that I could use them again and again, and I wouldn't have to spend weeks in advance in my classroom. So I do think there's a genius to to like using something, picking a theme or a color scheme or something in that way that allows you to use it over and over again, so you're not constantly recreating the wheel. So, all right, having said that, so I did love themes. I do think I probably would go in a little bit different direction now. I still think it's really fun, and I think it's exciting for kids. But I once again, I know, like I said, I was married. I had a second income. It was a different story. Now would be a completely different story, and I would not have the funds to go and spend not whatever I wanted, but I wouldn't have the funds to be able to do what I would always want to do in a classroom. So, again, let's talk about some vital reasons why the classroom decor even matters, because that's the whole point. Like, why does it even matter? And you might be surprised by some of these reasons. Like, the first reason why it's such a big deal to really pay attention to your back to school decor is the first impression that it makes for parents, for students, and for administrators. And I know that sounds crazy, but when you wow them, it's like that wow factor. It really can change things. Like for us, we always had our back to school night on the Thursday before school started. Like we'd go back to school on Monday, and then Thursday we had the back to school night, and then they changed it to Tuesday. They actually took the Monday away from us, although we were all still there for free again. Because it wasn't enough time to do. I mean, I don't know what they're thinking when they give you, that short amount of time, and then your whole room has to be transformed into ready for open house, which used to make me insane. It was a lot. It was like you were on overload, like getting everything done and ready to go. I had a friend another year who did like put up construction like tape, like almost like crime scene tape where they were like, this part is under construction. Like, don't go in this part of my classroom for open house. And I thought, how adorable. And she made it look really cute and everything, but it wasn't finished. She wasn't finished yet. And so, which, you don't have to be finished until Monday morning when the kids come in. So if you're going to spend your weekend at school, then sometimes it's not finished. And I thought that was a really cute solution for not being ready to go. And it happens sometimes, like things come up, and they always come up at that time of the year too, when you are like on high stress and overload. All right. So anyway, every single year we had that back to school on the Thursday. So it was like, we had to be ready. And I know that getting everything ready for that first week can be so difficult, and it's just, it's a lot. But I think when those parents come in and those kids come in and they see like what you've done. I know that there have been years even where some of my colleagues didn't have their room like completely finished, and they didn't do like the crime scene idea. Or the under construction, I should say. They didn't do that, and it didn't like some parents complained. They were like, they're not ready. They don't look like they're ready for the kids to come. And I guess, and it mainly had to do with the fact that they didn't have name tags on their desks, which I was like, that's a little bit ridiculous, because sometimes you need to get a feel of how kids are going to interact with each other in order to make your name tags and to figure out how your teams are going to go. I did them in advance, and I did it like heterogeneous grouping and like trying to like do almost like a Kagan cooperative learning structure. Like I had groups of 4. So I did do a lot of thinking about how I was going to group kids. But I mean, that I usually change those teams within the first week or 2 weeks, because you quickly realize who can be together and who can't be together. So I don't think that has to be set in stone. But anyway, these parents their first impression was that the teacher wasn't prepared. And I'm like, I think that's unfair. I do think that's unfair, an unfair expectation sometimes from parents. But I also feel like it does give them a first impression. Like they have you can tell when people have gone above and beyond. And I know when I've walked into the rooms of my kids' teachers and I'm like, this place is like decked out. Like this is going to be awesome. It made it a lot easier for me to convince my son, who didn't love going to school. It made it a lot easier for me to get him to go. And sometimes if it's just that little thing that gets your child to go someplace, you're like, oh, thank goodness. So I definitely think it matters to parents. And I think it matters to some administrators. They want to know that your room is ready and your room is set to go. And I don't know how you would be able to prevent yourself as an administrator from like noticing that, from like, noticing that as you're walking around, seeing if your school is ready and set. Like, I think the decor of the classroom, it would matter. And again, you don't have to go crazy. Like you don't have to go crazy expense wise. And you could, as long as it's neat and tidy and ready in that aspect, and you have, some things labeled and things like that, then I think that should be a fair expectation. And you shouldn't have to spend weeks and weeks of your summer preparing your classroom. But we all know that that's what it takes in order to kind of go for that above and beyond wow factor. Another reason why I think it can be really important is the impression it has on the kids. Like, I mean, I think it matters what the parents think. And I've cared what my administrators think. But those classroom decorations for kids, it matters. It matters to them. I walked with a student recently into some classrooms that were just getting started. Like they just started working on their rooms. And the child got to see his classroom teacher had been there like weeks in advance, and her room was so decked out. It had a what's it called, loft in her classroom. Like it actually built loft. It was so cool. I mean, even I was like, wow. I mean, it was amazing. And this kid, who's a kid that doesn't love school either, he was like, his whole little face lit up. And I was like standing kind of to the back of him, to the side. I could see the smile, and I could see his ears lift up, and I could, when you can tell someone's smiling from the back of their head. And I'm like, yes, Like that little thing mattered to him. It mattered to him a lot. And then he walked into some other classrooms and he's just kind of like, eh. But that's because they weren't ready yet. Like they still had weeks to go. They weren't ready yet. But it did make an impression on him. So I think it really matters. At another time where I had a young boy come into my classroom, and I really, like, for the last probably 3 or 4 years of being in the classroom, I was like really into superheroes. What was going on in my life, it was difficult, and I really needed good to overcome evil, like big time. And so I was very drawn to superheroes. I had no idea, like subconsciously, that was going on in my mind. I had no idea why I was like so fascinated by superheroes. I've actually calmed down in that aspect. Although I do love Iron Man, like that's my favorite. I love his quirky sense of humor. But yeah, so I'm a little bit of a superhero nerd, but not as much as I used to be. So I did have my classroom totally decked out. I mean, I had Spider-Man hanging from the wall. I had Batman. I had like the big Batman. He was like as tall as like up to my waist. He was really big. I had him near the science word wall. I had Thor's hammer hanging from the ceiling and a cape attached to up and away with words, like a word wall. And all of this stuff was from my son. Like he had been like really into superheroes too, and he had outgrown all of his superhero garb. Thank goodness. So this didn't cost me a fortune. I actually got it right from my own house. And although he did look at it and like my son and Jackson, and he's like, "Are you going to give this back?" Of course, I never did. I kept it for years, and by that time, he had outgrown it. But that boy that came to my classroom, he walked in to my room, and he looked around. His eyes were like huge, wide open saucers, and he looked at his mom, and he's like, "I'll definitely come to school now." And I remember feeling like, yes, I got him. I hooked him. And this kid ended up being a reluctant learner. Like he didn't love school. He didn't want to come to school all the time. He struggled. But that was such a huge win. I got him in the door. I got him excited to come to school. I mean, I had to continue to wow him for a long time, and I made it my personal mission to do so. But man, that felt like a win for me. And it was just like the best feeling ever. So I really think it does matter to kids. I think making an impression on kids, it makes a difference. And then the third reason why I feel like back to school decor matters is it really puts you in the right mindset. And I've definitely been reading a lot about mindset, and I'm sure you have heard a lot about mindset. And I know it's a big buzzword, and even growth mindset and like things that we're thinking. But let's get down to it. Mindset is an established set of attitudes that you hold about just about everything. And so I know when I'm feeling lazy and unproductive, I have to readjust my mindset. I want to see my lazy demeanor as a reminder that I need to slow down and take a moment for myself. Do you see what I did there? It all comes down to how and what you think about something. Like at first, I thought, I'm being lazy and unproductive. And then if I thought about lazy as in a different way, as me telling myself, you need to take a break. You're almost avoiding because you don't want to think or do something that you've got a little bit of anxiety about, or maybe you need a little bit of time to for yourself. It's two different ways of looking at lazy. So you really have to adjust your mindset sometimes. So for me, when my room is ready and organized, I feel like I am ready for kids to come. If I'm still putting things together after the kids come, it may never happen, because then you get so overwhelmed with the content that you have to teach, and making sure that you're covering the standards and classroom routines and procedures, and putting away all the supplies you get from back to school night and all the other things that you have to do. There's just so much that comes up after the kids come back to school. So having my room completed before back to school allowed me to feel accomplished and organized and prepared. So, as you can see, there are some valid reasons for having your back to school decor set up. So whether you find cheap classroom ideas, you go to Goodwill, you use a lot of bulletin board paper if your school has it, and hopefully they do, or you do because you can make border with the paper, you cut it in strips, you put it in long strips, like a long strip of the paper, you cut it into strips and then you fold it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then you crumple it up and then you put it up with stapler, and it's like a 3-dimensional border, and it like puffs out all around your bulletin board. So that can be with you out not paying for anything. Like you actually use something that the school has in your, teacher's lounge or teacher's lounge. I think that's such a funny word, because when does teachers ever get a chance to lounge? But so I think that sounds funny. But anyway, so those are just, that's just an idea that you can use that doesn't cost you anything. I mean, really cleaning up your bulletin boards with bulletin board paper can make them look 100 times better than if they are just the, regular background. But it'll be worth your time, because it can really amaze parents and administrators, but most importantly, it can really amaze your kids. So that's my thoughts on back to school decor. Don't overwhelm yourself though. Like, I know it's a lot of work and I know it's a lot of time, and you already do so much for students. So if you need some of these things done for you, I actually have some back to school decor packs. It has like all the name tags. It has different themes. I have sports and Western and space, superheroes. Oh, what else? Camping, ocean. So lots of fun themes to choose from, and it will give you all the name tag stuff you need and all the label things you need. Also has stuff for back to school night, and it has activities for the first week of school. So if you want that done for you, I will link to that in the show notes. And I'm getting ready to totally know how you feel. Maybe not so much with the classroom decor, but back in the saddle of working with kids and teachers again. And I'll keep you updated on that part of life because it's all about to change again for me. I feel like in the last 5 years, I've had so much change. More apparently is needed. Have a great getting ready for back to school. We'll be talking more about back to school in the next couple of weeks. And this one tired teacher is ready for a long nap before it all even starts. Until next time, sweet dreams and sleep tight.